Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. I'm Heather Hansen on this Friday afternoon, and we have got some interesting stories for you. We're going to start off today by talking a little bit about the McStay family murders. I want to bring in a judge, Ashley Willcott, to talk to us a little bit about this. You know, Judge, we've heard so much from lawyers on TV about what they think of this, whether it was appropriate, not appropriate. What are your thoughts coming from sort of a different perspective?
Well, here's the good news. I talk a lot about public awareness and making sure the public's educated about our system, about what's going on. The release of the report, and there aren't a lot of redactions, as you know, Heather, from looking at it, I think it's a very good thing for public awareness and knowledge and transparency. Now, what I think is interesting is Mueller took middle of the road, right? Like, there's not enough evidence to exonerate. There's not enough evidence to say he should be charged criminally. And then the Attorney General comes out and says, the way I read this is, that there's not enough information against the president, so it's conclusive. I think this is going to spawn a lot more investigations, a lot of hearings on Capitol Hill. But in terms of our process and being an American, I think that's a positive thing.
Now, you mentioned the other hearings. Do you think that we're going to see testimony from Robert Mueller?
Oh, 100%. I have no doubt. It's his report. He took middle of the road. I think that he's going to be called to testify.
You know, it's interesting. One of the arguments that people have made for moving forward, not pursuing any sort of impeachment hearings, not pursuing any sort of obstruction of justice, is the idea that we need to put this behind us and let the country run without this as a distraction. But it sounds like you think the distraction will continue even if it's not in an impeachment hearing.
Oh, I do think it's going to continue. Now, do I think it's necessary? Do I think it's going to be worth the many numbers of days that I, in my opinion, think are going to result as a result of this report? Probably not. At some point, people have to let go of it and move on. I just do not think that our system is going to let go of it yet.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And we're not going to let go of it just yet either, guys. We're going to show you another piece of Barr as he talks about this report. Hi, Judge. I want to bring you back in on that because at the end of that bit that we just showed, Barr made the difference between a matter of law and a matter of fact. What is the difference there to explain for our viewers?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It makes good sense. So in the report, Mueller was very clear, and I like the way he looked at 10 different episodes, 10 different things that the president was accused of doing, and delved into those to figure out what the facts were. Now, a prosecutor has the obligation to look at the facts and determine whether or not, as a matter of law, those facts rise to a crime and the individual can be charged with a crime or not. So what he's done, William Barr has gone to the next step and said, okay, these are all the facts that he pointed out in his report, but I, as a prosecutor, have to determine, as a matter of law, do those facts amount to a criminal act or not?
Yeah, and he ultimately decided that it did not. Now, we've mentioned that we believe that there's going to be further hearings and Mueller will likely testify. Do you think that there's going to be any possibility that Congress will raise the issue of impeachment and actually go forward with something despite what's gone on so far?
I think there's always the possibility. I think there's always going to be someone in Congress in this particular presidency who's going to say he should be impeached. At this point, and I haven't read all of Mueller's report, but I've read a good amount of it, I don't see the facts having been found to cause Congress or give Congress the ability factually to do that. So do I think factually that's supported at this point in time based on what we know? I do not. But again, Congress is very passionate when they pursue charges, and I'm not going to say they won't try.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in diving deep in any of this, go to the Law and Crime website because there's all kinds of opinion pieces and write-ups of this, and you can really dive deeper into a lot of these issues. I know some people, including our own Jesse Weber, have been saying, where's the Cliff Note version of all of this? And if you're asking yourself that question, the place to go truly is the Law and Crime Network website because there's all kinds of descriptions and dives deep into both sides of the issue. It's a fabulous place to go. Now we're going to do a little bit of a switch over, and in just a minute we're going to be talking about the Turpin family, these young children ranging in ages who were abused and neglected by their parents. When we come back, we'll dive in a little bit in that case. Oh, difficult to listen to. I want to bring in Judge Ashley Willcott. You know, Judge, these cases never get easier, and the strength of that 17-year-old is just absolutely exceptional, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. So these cases infuriate me. I'm a juvenile court judge. I hear cases like this all day when I'm on the bench. But here's what's amazing. This 17-year-old child escaped, the daughter. She made the phone call. Thank goodness she did. Strength is an understatement for this young lady. Just remember, I mean, Heather, when they got involved and she was removed from the home, she has a first grade education.
Yeah.
So not only was there severe abuse of all of these children, there was also severe neglect. So their medical needs hadn't been cared for, their educational needs hadn't been met. Just a horrible case on all levels. And someone should have known something, said something, investigated something before this point. This is a system fail.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the system fail a little bit further as we go on. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about in that conversation, do you think that there was any doubt with the 911 operator? And I'm not passing any judgment here. You know, when a kid calls and says something like this, it's almost hard to believe. Do you think that there was a moment that this 911 operator thought that this was either just an unsatisfied child or a prank?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's because they do receive calls where kids are either pranking or exaggerating. And so, you know, it's so unbelievable.
Right.
When you hear a child say this on the phone, I think a natural inclination is to think, this can't be true. This can't be accurate. And so some of the questions the operator asked, like, when's the last time you had a bath? I think she was just trying to gauge whether or not this was a true report.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, and yet it was true. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, just one of the children who was neglected and abused by the Turpins. And yet, you know, Ashley, he talks about forgiveness, and his statement was not based on hatred or anger or any of the things that happened, but rather all of the wonderful things that he had done in the short time since they were able to escape. What do you think of that?
All I could say, and I see it every day, kids are resilient, those three words, because it's an amazing thing. And a lot of adults, I do not believe, would be able to be that resilient and say, I forgive you and I'm learning all these great things. It's remarkable. These children are incredibly well adjusted given what they've been through.
Yeah, it's really an unbelievable, it's a miracle in many ways. And we're going to show you another victim statement right now. Another strong statement from another strong young person. Ashley, I want to bring you back in. You know, you deal with these types of cases all the time. Do you see situations like this where the children obviously still love and care for and want to be in contact with their parents who abused and neglected them?
Absolutely. Every case I see, children want to be with their parents. That's bottom line, regardless of what the parents have done. Now, in this case, I think it's a good example of, if you listen to her statement, what a remarkable young lady. She's parentified. She's the parent, right?
Yep.
She's almost saying, listen, I forgive these adults as if they're children. They did what they thought was right. They did the best they could. There were circumstances. They trusted in God. I want to be able to see them if I choose to. So she's more like a parent. They're more like the children that have done wrong and bad things.
Yeah, and it's amazing how children are drawn back to abusive situations because it's all they know. This is all those children knew their whole life, and they were told and they were taught. How do children, do they end up overcoming that, or do you see situations where they do continue to stay in touch with the parent even though the parent was abusive and neglectful?
Oh, I see both situations. And remember, all the trauma that's caused to them because of the abuse and the neglect that they've experienced, we know now scientifically changes their brain chemistry. There's a lot of therapy available to help with that. But without treatment, they're going to have different consequences. In spite of all of that, here's where I'm going with that, Heather. Children love their parents. It's an innate truth that I see time and time and time again. And often, regardless of what the parents have done to them, they want a relationship. They're going to seek out their parents.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable thing, and we see it time and time again, as you pointed out. We also see time and time again where the system fails, and I know you mentioned that before. I want to touch upon that. You know, what could the system have done here, and what can we do as the public to support the system to make sure these things don't happen?
Excellent questions. And all of those, from the very beginning, first of all, you look at, they chose to homeschool these children. So did the school system have what it need from the family to have approved or know that they were being homeschooled, number one, so that the absences for school, were those missed? If so, somebody should have looked into it. Someone knew something. I'm going to say right now, some person, whether it's a stranger in a grocery store, in one of the restaurants that they got Mexican food from or pizza from, somebody had a suspicion. I promise you, someone saw a child and thought either they're too skinny, they look like they've been abused, something's not right, look at the way they're hoarding their food. Whatever it is, even if it's small and insignificant in and of itself, it could have indicated, shown a light that there was a lot amiss in this home. So here I am saying, report. I know that people are afraid of the system. They don't want to get involved. Nationwide reports are anonymous, so you can report abuse and neglect. If anybody knew anything, they should have reported it so it could be investigated sooner than it was.
Yeah, we really need to speak up when we, see something, say something. Doesn't just apply to terrorist attacks. It applies to anything, anytime that you see something that doesn't seem right. You know what, Ashley, it was so great to have you on today. We're going to continue to cover this case, and I know you'll be right here with us as we do. Thank you very much, and have a good holiday.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back on Monday. In the meantime, have a great weekend, a good holiday, and we will see you back here early Monday morning.